We have several sessions today, and the topics we will cover include how to achieve energy transition and net zero. Therefore, we'll talk about the goals for energy transformation, how businesses can reduce emissions and create opportunities, and how to green life, a new trend. I think we'll be able to deliver the importance of green energy to the public as well as the opportunities green energy can bring to us.
First of all, may I please invite Mr. Giuseppe Isol, Vice Chairman of ECCT, to give us his welcome remarks. Welcome, Mr. Isol.
IDB, the Deputy Director Lu, IDB Deputy Director Chen, dear Joanne, Director at SEMI, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
It is my pleasure to represent the ECCT's Low Carbon Initiative, LCI, at this forum, arranged together with MOEA's Bureau of Energy, Green Energy Industry Promotion Center, and SEMI Taiwan. The recent COP26 gathering in Scotland showed once again the urgent need for global action to prevent catastrophic climate change. The topic of today's forum, net zero transformation and green energy promotion, is very similar to one of the main topics in the ECCT's recently published 2022 position papers. Under the topic of Taiwan's energy transformation, we have recommended that government draft and implement a comprehensive roadmap to reach net zero greenhouse gas emission by 2050. Last week, at another event arranged by the LCI with the Legislative Yuan, Vice President Tsai Chang and MOEA Vice Minister Tseng, who is also featured today, we heard some of the measures Taiwan plans to adopt on the path to net zero. However, to be successful, every player in the global supply chain will need to take action to decarbonize their operations and move to circular economy business models. This is why we are delighted to see that today's program has speakers from a variety of industry sectors. We will hear from them about how to speed up Taiwan's wind energy development, boost low carbon development in industry, electric vehicles, and sustainable development in the semiconductor, cement, plastics, and furniture industry sectors. All of these industry sectors have a crucial role to play in the path to net zero, and it is encouraging to see that many of them are already implementing carbon reduction and even carbon positive initiatives. On behalf of the ECCT, I would like to thank the speakers for giving up their time and look forward to an insightful and useful forum. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Isol. Thank you for your welcome remarks. 非常感谢尹副理事长。
Now let's welcome Senior Director from SEMI, Ms. Su, to give us an opening remarks. We are also going this online. I would like to say hi to Deputy Minister Wen Shenzhen, IDB Deputy Director of Metal and Mechanical Industry Division Lu, IDB Deputy Director of Sustainable Development Division Chen, Vice Chairman from ECCT. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for participating in today's Energy Taiwan Forum. This is supervised by MOEA, and we have been working very hard with the Energy Bureau as well as the Green Energy Promotion Center, and we would like to see everyone to gather together to talk about this important topic. And we know that net zero topic is now a hot topic around the world, and after COP26, we can see that carbon emission is now the most important topic around the world, and everyone in the world is working hard to achieve this goal. And already we have 140 countries pledge to reduce this carbon emission, and President Tsai also declared that Taiwan must achieve the goal by 2050. On the other hand, many industries are under the force of TCFD, PRI, CBAM, and as well as RE100 initiative. So these initiatives are actually exerting high pressure on global corporate governance. As a trade-oriented country, Taiwan is facing the demands from international enterprises such as Apple, etc. So we are really working very hard to achieve this goal, as well as the important topic of carbon border tax policy. It is important for everyone to work on this regard so that we can keep our competitive advantages. So Taiwan have this low carbon first, zero carbon later strategy. We want to help the country gradually reach the net zero goal by continuously building up technological mature green energy. We would like to expand our options, such as hydrogen, thermal, and biomass. So these are all the topics covered in this week's exhibition. So the government would like to promote smart management of energy as well as the low carbon manufacturing process. By doing so, we would like to achieve the goal of net zero in Taiwan. SEMI will continue to integrate the complete green energy supply chain and promote the energy transformation in Taiwan. So we are very glad to see everyone here. Thank you very much. So thank you, Ms. Su. Please stay on the stage. We're now taking a group photo together.
Honor to come up to the stage for group photos. 欢迎经济部工业局永续发展组陈良栋副组长。欢迎经济部工业局金属机电组卢文灿副组长。欢迎欧洲商会尹荣副理事长 Mr. Giuseppe Isol, Vice Chairman of ECCT， 还有我们的苏珍平资深总监。好，我们请台上的贵宾先暂时把口罩拿下来，请看向前方的摄影镜头。Please look at the cameras right in front of you。大力支持，还有谢谢我们今天的。
Thank you all for coming to participate in today's forum.
Together, we wish every success of this forum. Thank you very much. Thank you. 谢谢长官贵宾，请回座。Thank you very much.
Now we would like to invite Mr. Wen-Tan Lu from the Metal and Mechanical Industries Division. He is going to share with us renewable energy industry PV and offshore wind industrial strategies in Taiwan. Senior Director Su, distinguished guests, dear friends online, good morning, everyone. We have heard the presentation from our Deputy Minister Zheng, and he has shared with us our policy of net zero carbon emission. And energy transformation is a way for us to reach the goal of net zero. And Taiwan has been devoting a lot of time and efforts to formulate the strategy as well as implement these policies. And our goal is to have low carbon emission and then move to zero carbon emission. And we are part of the ecosystem to promote the whole policy. So as he mentioned, everything related to this topic is a part of renewable energy strategy. And I would like to thank SEMI for organizing this event. I have been working with Ms. Su for several years, and SEMI had this semiconductor exhibition in the United States several years ago, and every year they had this exhibition, and I have participated in some of these events, and they talk a lot of issues related to semiconductors as well as solar energy and wind energy. So I think that SEMI's support is very important for us. So today, I'm going to share with you two very important aspects of renewable energy industry. That is PV, solar energy, and also offshore wind energy. And MOEA this year just announced our IRP, the Industrial Relation Program. And we announced this IRP after 4 public hearings, and we have worked with these offshore components industries and companies in Taiwan, and we have integrated all their opinions and then have this concluded IRP, and later I will explain further in details to you. So my presentation today will start by introducing to you the policy of renewable energy industry of MOEA, and later I will focus on solar energy as well as offshore wind energy. So on this chart, you can see this is our vision and target of our development in renewable energy industry. As Deputy Minister just mentioned, renewable energy is not just an energy policy, it's actually an industry policy. And the importance of energy policy and industriality is the same. And 2 years ago, I visited Europe, and they are devoting in the development of wind energy. And they mentioned that their goal is to create at least 200,000 job opportunities in the wind energy industry in Europe. So today our topic is not only about net zero or energy transformation, but because the energy policy related to the equivalent tariff strategy, so we use the taxpayers' money to create more job opportunities and economic value of this energy industry. So this is not only the target of Taiwan, but also what they have done in Europe and the United States. So energy security is important, as well as sustainable energy and sustainable economic development. These are all the topics related to the renewable energy policy. So we have a target to have 5.6 gigawatts electricity produced by 2025. And in 2026 and 2027, we will gradually develop our offshore wind farm and to increase the power generated by wind turbines. So our main ultimate target would be 20 megawatts, and on the ground, it will be combined with the on-ground wind turbines as well as offshore wind turbines. And we have a one-stop service office related to renewable energy, and they are responsible for the solar PV industry as well as wind turbine and wind farm industries. So in Taiwan, the industries can generate or to manufacture these components of wind turbines by the harbor, because as you know, the components of wind turbines are very huge and very heavy, so they need to be manufactured by the harbor so that it will be easier for them to be transported and assembled to the wind turbine. And of course, there are a lot of issues related to the manufacturing of wind turbines. It includes how to communicate with manufacturers and supply chain, as well as how to choose the correct location to have this wind farm and communicate with the fishery industries in order to preserve the natural environment. These are all the topics that we need to consider when developing wind farms. So, as I mentioned, this graph is not only about the target of our development, but also green finance is very important. In addition to technology innovation, green finance is another key, as well as industry development is important. So by promoting this energy policy, we can reduce the energy use, and the government is now having this rule of reduce the energy use by 42% in their daily operations. So this will be our goal, to assist the manufacturers to reach this target. And we are also devoting into the energy storage from infrastructures, because as we know, green energy usually they are not a stable energy. So we want to build this 590 megawatt storage system, and we have this AFC method for the related industries to join this storage system. Now let's look at the solar energy, the PV industry here in Taiwan. So from 2016 to 2020, we have great growth. So the PV capacity had increased 5.6 times, and the power generated increased by 7.2 times. So this is a huge success from the government's promotion. So by 2020, accumulated PV capacity had reached 5.82 gigawatts, including roof type and ground type. And the roof type would be like 4.08 gigawatts, and the ground type will be 1.74 gigawatts, because the land is more expensive, so it's more difficult for us to find the right place, the right location to build this ground type PV. But we encourage our 62 industrial zones to install this roof type PV in their factories. So that is why this is very successful. Now let's look at the output value of Taiwan PV industry. So in 2020, the output value of Taiwan PV industry is about 160.4 billion NT dollars. So we know that in the past, our main focus is exporting these products, but now it is now transforming into our local market. We want to increase the demand from the domestic market in order to boost the growth of this industry. So compared with the 175.7 billion in 2019, the 2020 figure is a little lower. However, from 2009 to 2010, we see there's doubled growth of PV capacity. So we believe that because of the pandemic, the economy will recover very soon. And for example, as we mentioned, the bicycle industry dropped previously, but because of the demand of green energy, the demand of bicycle has increased dramatically. It's because this is a low carbon or zero carbon transportation tool. So that is the reason why the bicycle industry can enjoy this great growth. And we also think that the PV industry is also will also have this opportunity to grow double because of its zero emission feature. And we can see that around the world, almost all countries trying to get rid of the fossil fuel usage. And although we still have a great storage of petrol and fossil fuels, but because we are looking forward to have a green environment, so everyone is now focusing on the manufacturing of electric vehicles as well as PV industry. So actually, Taiwan government has promoted PV installation and also promoting the manufacturing of high efficiency PV panels. So because we have this kind of technology, we actually enjoy quite advantage in the PV industry. Okay. So this is the whole industrial chain of the PV industry in Taiwan. So from the upstream to midstream to downstream, we can cover the manufacturing of the silicon wafers, solar cell, PV module, and as well as components and system installation. I believe you are all very familiar with manufacturers such as Motec, United Renewable Energy, as well as AUO. And even some of them would provide integrated service for companies who are interested in installing PV panels. So this is a map that we can show you from the north to the south of Taiwan. Everywhere in Taiwan, you can find module or solar cell related company or factory. So we have deep involvement in the manufacturing of these PV products. And this is what I mentioned before. We are actually encouraging domestic companies to develop high-efficiency PV modules because Taiwan has it's a very small island. So we don't have a lot of land area for us to use to install these PV modules. Therefore, high-efficiency modules will be very important for us. So MOEA had implemented measures such as the voluntary product verification system, that is VPC for PV modules, so that they can enjoy 6% FIT addition, so that these manufacturers can be encouraged to develop high-efficiency modules. So in 2016, it is estimated that domestically produced PV modules accounted for about 72% in the market, and more than 99% of the domestic PV installations had used MIT PV modules. So this shows that our policy really encouraged the whole development of PV industry in Taiwan.
Sorry for the load response of the remotes. I think it's not working now, or not working properly. Okay. We just saw the map of Taiwan, and here I list Taiwan's PV supply chain capacity by suppliers. And the first one is EURE, and there's also TSEC Solar. And currently, more than half of them have reached the size above M6. So the production capacity of large size spec will continue to grow. Here I've listed some challenges of Taiwan's PV industry. In current Taiwan, we do not have much land for ground PV, and that's why cogeneration or seashores are more ideal places for PV, but there are some other requirements. For example, cogeneration means that the area is more humid, and seashore land is sometimes too close to the ocean, and that's why there are extra challenges for the suppliers and the government to conquer. We need to achieve high efficiency, high resilience as well. And maybe we have achieved high efficiency already, but the global PV industry continues to develop high efficiency cell technology and shift to large size production. The Taiwan's companies will need to catch up if they want to stay competitive. This requires partnerships from the private and the public sectors. The third challenge is that net zero goal will drive more demand. We hope to increase the capacity of all kind of PV modules, including roof type modules, and we would like to invite more families to join this overall project. And I will not go over all the details here, but the slide includes many challenges the government and the PV industry have to conquer. Okay, now on offshore wind, IRP during this week was announced publicly this week. As the photo shows, President Tsai received a delegation of top executives in the sector and representatives from foreign embassies in Taiwan. And the main message here is to work together and to enter the international market together. And we invite foreign companies in offshore wind energy because we want to prosper together. As Taiwan has a great supply chain, we hope to work with our foreign partners to enter the international markets. And Taiwan has become a regional leader in offshore wind and is on our way to become Asia's green energy hub. With such a position, we can join hands with European runners in wind power and expand to global markets. That's the expectation from President Tsai to government agencies and all the energy companies in Taiwan. Here, this one shows that energy is not only a policy, it's an industry development approach as well. We have developed 120 megawatts in the Formosa demo project, and the Thai Power demo project will have 21 turbines, or have 21 turbines already. This is the phase 1 demo incentive program. In phase 2, zone application for planning. From 21 to 24, we will achieve 3.8 gigawatts via selection, and by 25, we will achieve 1.7 gigawatt via auction. In this phase, we want to help the domestic developers, and they are the northern location, the southern location. We want to help with the installation and development of the foundations in phase 2. In phase 3, zonal development, our plan spans from 2026 to 2035, and we want to finish 1.5 gigawatt per year deployed during this period and to drive the entire wind industry. On Monday, we have announced the goal for 2026 and 2027. We announced the IRP policy for these 2 years, and of course, we will make dynamic changes as we go forward. You're probably very familiar with this side. On January 18, 2018, we announced Taiwan's offshore wind power policy, our IRP policy. From 21 to 25 is a whole period, and from 2020 to 2021 is a pre-stage. And 2022 is a pre-stage, 2023 phase 1, then phase 2 in 2024. And 2025 as well. We would like to use this period to create a complete supply chain in Taiwan. Here includes the 4 drivers for building an offshore wind supply chain in Taiwan. Of course, we need the help from foreign partners, but at the same time, we ourselves work on National Financing Guarantee Scheme with 10 billion NT dollars in size with 100 billion financing guarantee resources. And this year, some suppliers will start to apply for this guarantee scheme. And infrastructure, also a very important driver. We talk about the Taichung Harbor with its industrial park area because the components are very heavy. So we negotiated with the Taichung Harbor company to create such a harbor dedicated for the wind industry. And Siemens currently have their nacelle assembly line 2.0. In the future, there will be 2.0 as well. And all of those installations are almost completed. This shows Taiwan's offshore wind industry clusters. There's Taipei Harbor in northern Taiwan, Qingdao Harbor in the south, and Taichung Harbor in central Taiwan. There is a dedicated industrial park, including many harbors. We work with the Ministry of Transportation and suppliers and developers and components companies, as well as blade suppliers, to join this project. This is a graph of suppliers in Taiwan. If you have meetings with IDB, you've probably seen this already. There's onshore substation, blade and resin, Tianli and Vestas. The companies have partnered to set up the first offshore wind blade production facility in the Asia Pacific. In tower field, there's a CS Wind in foundation. We have Qingdao Foundation, Formosa, and CTCI. These are the suppliers in Taiwan. And we have an OFW supply chain built from scratch. So different suppliers from different components, and MOEA always continue to work with the suppliers to look for resources to find the land they need. We want to overcome challenges along with our partners. And I'll talk about zonal development in phase 3. From 2020, February 2020 up to now, we've invited suppliers of nacelle, blades, foundation, and many industry associations. We organized 83 meetings. And from June 2020, we seek We have been seeking consultations and organized 4 public hearings to negotiate many projects. As you can see here, the foundations and so on is already very successful in Taiwan. We invite suppliers in the industry to come and, well, it's not working. I'm not sure where I should point my remote to. Okay, so to the podium. All right. Okay, anyway, after negotiations and exchanges, there are 3 important pillars in policy framework: energy independence, Asian hub, and industrial impact. These are 3 very important goals, especially in industry impact. We estimate that with 3 gigawatts in 2 years, we'll be able to add output value of 264 billion NT dollars and create more than 30,000 new jobs. In the 3rd phase IRP, we ask the suppliers to voluntarily promise to engage in domestic production and to drive in emerging technologies to create domestic clusters for the industry and bring more new jobs. Through long discussions, these are 3 goals or 3 parts of our IRP program. In looking for locations, we've negotiated with many foreign and domestic suppliers. Some of them are concerned about the limitation, for example, limitation on land. So we respond to their concerns, and therefore we add a flexibility to the program. And if it is very difficult to domesticate some production, we may change that. And the 100% requirement in the past is now decreased to 60%. And with the rest 40%, they're optional. What also matters a lot is that in phase 2, we want to lead to new investment and facilities. And many companies have already invested in foundation, and we want to develop their capacity and technology so that they can be used in phase 3. And I mentioned that the rest 40% are optional items. In phase 2, things such as blades and other materials were not included in IRP, but now that we've added them as optional items, they can get extra credits if suppliers are working on those components. My conclusion, I will not talk about PV too much, but on wind industry, as I said earlier, we had more than 80 meetings, and we look forward to this direction because this meets the expectation of the public. From 2026 into 27, 28, we'll continue to make adjustments. The renewable energy policy is not only an energy policy, it's an industry policy. If we are going to use taxpayers' money to create more jobs and to collaborate with wind turbine companies around the world, that would be a great result for all. That would be a win-win-win situation for all of us. Thank you very much for your time. I would like to conclude here. I wish you good health and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lu, for your excellent presentation. Our next speaker is Dr. Liangdong Chen, the Deputy Director from IDB MOEA. Today, he is going to share with us the topic of promotion strategies for low-carbon industry. Let's welcome him. Distinguished guests, Mr. Izo from ECCT, and also the Senior Director Su from SEMI, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today, I'm very honored to participate in the forum on behalf of our division. And I'm going to talk about the promotion strategies for low-carbon industry. I myself actually has been engaging into the greenhouse gas emission-related business in IDB. In 1990s, I have also participated in the seminar related to the discussion of regulations in Phoenix, the United States. So I have very close affection with SEMI. So today's topic actually is MOEA's actually MOEA pays a lot of attention to today's topic, and Mr. Wen Shenzhen, the Deputy Minister, talks about this topic a lot of times. So because he is not able to be here today, so I would like to share more ideas and of our strategy with you. So this slide, you have seen this before in Mr. Zhen's presentation. And as you can see, we have 51% of our industry is in the industrial sector. The industrial sector use 51% of the whole energy generated in Taiwan. So green energy is very important for the industrial sector here in Taiwan. Because if we are looking forward industrial transformation, we need to focus on the energy use. And we are seeing quite a great progress here in Taiwan. And of course, our final target would be net zero. And we would like to have a zero emission and to increase energy efficiency, as well as increase the use of renewable energy. And maybe in the future, we can reach the goal of carbon negative. So we talk a lot about green finance recently. So we really need the support from the finance sector, because the development and R&D of all these technologies need to be supported by the finance industry. I have participated in the formulation of the Greenhouse Gas Constraint Act in Taiwan. And in that act, we already have some articles related to carbon trade. But we need to establish a more comprehensive system to really implement this carbon trade, and also we are helping industries to gain the carbon rights from the EPA. So that was what we were doing in the past. But now, because the situation is more severe and the target is more serious, so the EPA is also modifying their regulations related to carbon emission. So maybe in the future, we will have this more integrated more integrated method to control the carbon emission. And also, we will add in the price. We will put a price on carbon in the future, so that people will be more aware of the cost they need to pay when emission carbons. So by doing so, the industries will be more motivated to transform and also to formulate a better system for them to use their carbon asset. In order to reach the goal of net zero, President Tsai already announced that 2050 would be our target year. And it is a target shared by many countries in the world. So the Executive Yuan has established this net zero emission assessment working teams or a task force. And we have Industrial Development Bureau to join the task force, and the task force is now assessing the possibility of realizing this goal, and also what are the measures to take in order to achieve this target. So we have this industry and energy efficiency team. We have 200 enterprises and more than 300 factories had joined this industry and energy efficiency team. And we have provided a lot of information to these factories and in the enterprises so that they understand how to really achieve the goal of net zero emission. And we discussed with them what are the possible measures they would like to take. So we exchange our ideas. And many of the large enterprises in Taiwan have already proposed their initiatives to reduce their carbon emission with the ultimate goal of net zero emission. So our purpose is that we can have these large enterprises to lead smaller enterprises in Taiwan to walk on the same path. And if they need certain technologies or tools, then we can provide them with necessary assistance. So we have these 5 pillars for carbon reduction in Taiwan. And we are just one of these 5 pillars, the industry and energy efficiency team. But we also have this decarbonized energy team, and also green transportation and vehicle electrification team. And VE is, of course, a very important part in our daily lives. And we believe this EV electricity cars, electricity vehicles in the future will really help us to cut carbon emission. So that will be another important pillar of our policy. So on this slide, you can see the MOEA have this 2x2 net zero transformation framework. So our strategy is low carbon first and zero carbon later. So that is also what Deputy Minister just mentioned. So we can divide the whole framework into 2 parts. That is the energy part and the industry part. In the energy part, we will look for energy transformation. And in the low carbon period, we will increase green energy. And we want to increase the gas use by 50% and lower the use of coal. In terms of the industry part, in the low carbon phase, we will help them to engage in fuel conversion. So, for example, the boilers that use coal, we would like to help them to transform into the use of gas or biomass. So we have allocated some budget to help industries to transform the existing boilers they are using, or even upgrade these boilers. In the past, these boilers use coal as a fuel, but most of them are now using natural gas as the fuel. And we have helped them by change the pipes and also install new pipes to transfer natural gas to their factory sites. So now in Taiwan, we have around more than 5,000 boilers to upgrade them and make them into natural gas boilers. We allocate some subsidies for them. And in the past, some boilers use heavy oil as fuel, and of course, heavy oil is quite expensive. So because the price of natural gas is cheaper, so the factory owners are also very willing to have this transformation. Now we have around 4,000 boilers now use natural gas. In other words, about 80 to 90% of the boilers are now using natural gas, but there are still some needs to be transformed. Another thing in the industry part is that we would like to help industries to improve their energy efficiency. After the Kyoto Protocol went into effect, the Energy Bureau have been engaging in the voluntary carbon reduction scheme provided to industries, because as long as they can improve energy efficiency, lower carbon emission, they can also have better performance in their business. So every year we have around 2,000 to 3,000 cases of improved energy efficiency factories or companies. So every year we can reduce like 80,000 to 1 million tons of carbon emission. So this is a good result for us. Actually, we are seeing the carbon reduction here in Taiwan already. So this is because the government and the industry work together. And in the past, we encourage this voluntary carbon reduction. But now, because we are aiming to have net zero emission, so industries are also very interested in this topic, and they have gathered a lot of information about net zero. So in the past, we only negotiate or discuss with factory directors, but now we are seeing chairpersons to come to us and to talk about these net zero policies. And the Minister of MOEA would also discuss with the associate chairmen and also CEOs in Taiwan to discuss how to reach this goal. So everyone here in Taiwan knows that we are doing this very seriously. We need high-level participation. And the next phase would be zero carbon. And how to achieve the goal of zero carbon? Hydrogen energy would be a very important measure for us. And we are also aiming for CCS. It's quite difficult for us to achieve the goal of CCS, but many of the companies or industries in Taiwan is able to do CCUS. So after they capture these carbons, they can reuse them and make them into different chemicals. So that is a successful part in Taiwan. In Taiwan, we are promoting this transformation, and in the industry part, we are now helping the industries to develop carbon-free fuel and also how to use hydrogen to manufacture iron, or to engage in circular economy within the companies as well as the CCUS, as I mentioned. So these are all the powerful tools for us to reduce carbon emission. And in EU, they talk a lot about circular economy, and they say it can help them to reduce carbon emission by 45%. And in Taiwan, we are also seeing a lot of successful cases. So later I will share with you.
For the manufacturing sector to go low carbon, there are 5 strategies. First of all, energy efficiency improvement is a priority. Second, we need to use important technologies from home and abroad. So these are the 5 strategies to drive low carbon. So we want to maximize energy efficiency and reduce the need for energy. Then we want to switch to low carbon fuels. In the short term, we use low carbon fuels. In the long term, we're going to use carbon-free energies. For example, by importing hydrogen power and by utilizing biomass. Biomass is not enough right now, but that's the way to go. Because in the future, along the coast of Taiwan, there will be many wind farms and PV capacity. And some new generated lands along the coastline will be installed with PV or wind farms. I believe that will be a wonderful thing to witness with PV panels in these areas. The third strategy, or the third arrow here, is to promote process electrification, because that will be a very important approach to carbon-free electricity. In the past, we need to burn to produce power, but in the future, we can promote electrification of process equipment and use carbon-free electricity. Also, some waste from paper or textile industries in the past were sent to landfill, but now these waste can be used as fuels to replace coal or to replace other fossil fuels. This is the fourth strategy. The fifth strategy is to develop innovative technology, which is not an easy task. But we have policies to support and guide research and development in these technologies, and state-owned enterprises play the roles as the leaders. So the bigger players lead the smaller ones, and then these technologies can be spread throughout different sectors and industry. These are the 5 important strategies for low carbon. Now, as I said earlier, strategy 1 is to improve energy efficiency. In this regard, we provide consultations to the private sector. We hire many engineers to go to factories to examine where is the room to improve their energy efficiency or to replace equipment that is with low efficiency. We also implement ISO 50001 to assist factories to establish energy management system. With this system, companies or factories will be able to spot where they can improve in their manufacturing process. We also use ESCO, the energy company, to help these factories find the rooms for improvement. And for major energy consuming areas or processes, we want to encourage the introduction of smart monitoring system and develop energy analysis tools. So smart management is in line with ISO 50001. The last components in strategy 1 is digital transformation, because by using big data analysis technology, we can link and optimize energy saving, storage, creation facilities, and move towards AI energy management. In the future, decision making can be automated. Strategy 2. Switch to low carbon fuels. On the left, this is a graph shown by Deputy Minister earlier. This shows that we want to use gas to replace coal. We want to increase renewable energy. In the future, nuclear power will be phased out and will be replaced by renewable energy. All in all, this is to use low carbon fuels to reduce emission. Oil burning will be switched to gas burning. Now we are thinking about the LNG terminal in northern Taiwan. In the future, power generation plant and cogeneration plants may switch from using coal to gas, which will be a practice in reducing more than 10% of carbon emission. Strategy number 3, process electrification. In COP26, which was organized in Glasgow, we were reminded that steam engines were used to replace manpower, and at the very beginning, textile industry used a lot of fuels, but with the first industrial revolution, coals were consumed immensely. But now we want to see another revolution, another industrial revolution, by switching from coal to cleaner energy. So steam boilers, heat transfer oil boilers, or hot water boilers can be changed. They are used to heat, to clean, and to sterilize. And in the future, we want to use electricity-based boilers to replace these older equipments which burn fossil fuels. The fourth strategy is to introduce circular economy. Enterprises generate waste. And I used to work in a waste company. And this company collected waste plastics with plastic films, paper waste, and so on. We may recycle the fibers, but how about the plastic films? They became just waste, ended up in landfill or being burned as waste. But now in many factories, they have their own burners to burn the waste, but at the same time to generate power. That's a co-generation approach, so the waste will not leave the plant and affect the environment. Wastewater, the other matter in the past, included the sludge and many other components. It's very expensive to treat sludge. It takes $4,000 to $5,000 NT to treat 1 ton of the sludge. But now sludge can be used for biomass generation. wastewater now can be turned into energy. Now, many paper mills are installing these facilities. Of course, this can be used in food factories. And methane generation is another direction to go, supported by the government. And the government have the tariff scheme to purchase electricity produced by methane. As you can see in the picture, this shows some paper fiber and plastic components. They can be turned into RDF as solid sources of energy. They can be burned as fuel, and we are also establishing RDF power plants. This solves also the problem of treating the waste because we do not have enough facilities to burn the waste, or we should say there is just too much waste to be burned. And now we want to turn waste into fuels that can be used to generate power. We have several international investors in this regard already. And in the past, we were able to export used clothes to less developed countries. But now, less and less countries will purchase them, and again, we can turn the used clothes into RDF, which is used as fuels and energy source. Strategy number 5, technology innovation. We introduce carbon capture, utilization, and storage technologies, as well as the application of hydrogen energy. In fossil fuel industry, CO2 was emitted into the air, but now we are able to collect or to capture CO2. They can be turned into other materials. I think many companies are using these technologies already, and through catalyst process, the CO2 could be purified from 20 to 30% to up to more than 95%. This is an application of new technologies. Technologies allow us to capture the carbon, to turn it into feedstock or other materials. These can reduce the emission of CO2. On the other hand, we can look at hydrogen energy. There are different sources of hydrogen. There's gray, blue, and green hydrogen. We continue to develop renewable energy. Maybe in the future, one day there will be too much hydrogen. What should we do? Then we can use some process to to decompose the energy into hydrogen. And the bond of hydrogen or H2 can be broken and to increase or to produce hydrogen. And the carbon after their capture can be used to make other materials. And the gray hydrogen can be used as power. Australia, in fact, is in talks with us because Australia is producing much renewable energy. They are able to produce a lot of hydrogen and sell it to Japan now. Maybe they'll be selling some hydrogen to us. We can liquefy hydrogen for further use. So hydrogen-based cells or boilers or vehicles in the future may all use hydrogen. In fact, some vehicles in Japan are already using hydrogen. So in Taiwan, in the future, if we have more hydrogen, we may be able to promote the use of more hydrogen-based cars.
接下来就
Now I would like to share some cases with you. The first case study is the carbon capture and utilization. And the example is that China Steel Corporation and the CPC Corporation in Taiwan have begun planning to promote carbon capture and utilization project. And we call it coupled production of steel and chemicals, because in the steel plant, they will produce a lot of CO2, and then the capture of CO2 can be used by the CPC, and they can further process this CO2 and capture the carbon emission. And also, the China Steel Corporation is working on the development of to use hydrogen to produce steel. So for CPC, when they use the captured CO2, they can have this methane hydrogen or transform them into acetic acid, so that in the future we can use them to make like shoes and other applications. Another case study is the energy efficiency improvement. And in Taiwan, we have a lot of textile factories, and many of them is now using used plastic bottles and to make them into recycled textiles. And now we are doing this very successfully and become a world-famous industry here. So the textile industries now in Taiwan, they use traditional dyeing machines, and the traditional dyeing machines had very high liquid ratio for dyeing. But now many of them have changed these machines into low liquid ratio dyeing machines, so they can easily have their investment to be returned within 5.8 years, and every year they can save 52% of the energy and 86% of the water they use in dyeing. And the carbon reduction is more than 2,000 tons a year. This is another example in the textile industry. In the past, they use this heavy oil or fuel oil to be the power of their boiler. But now they have invested in like 41 million NT dollars to change these machines into natural gas fueled boilers. And the payback period is only 3.2 years, and they can have carbon reduction of more than 4,000 tons a year. Another example is pulp and paper industry. So this example is Zhenlong Corporation. They have invested 1.5 billion in the replacement of coal equipments. So they use biomass, high efficiency biomass, to replace coal, and they can have this circular economy within their factory. Not only the sludge produced, they can reuse it, but also the wastewater can be used to power their equipment. In the past, they use this steam to power their machines, but now they have more technology to generate power for their factory to run. So this is quite successful example. On the slide, you can see a picture of SRF, the solid recovered fuel. These are actually very common in the paper-making industry, and they can use this SRF to run their own equipment. So the whole company, the whole factory can form ecosystem, and they can keep recycling these fuels and also the waste, and they can almost have zero pollution to the environment. So this is one of the most successful examples here in Taiwan, and we can see how we successfully transform our industries in Taiwan. Thank you very much. Thank you for Mr. Chen for your wonderful presentation.